So taking a step back, going back to customer discovery, I know you have 8 steps for customer discovery. In your opinion, what's the most important one? What's the most vital one in customer discovery?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I think it probably actually depends on the business model, and so I think it's probably up for each entrepreneur to decide. I guess I think that the way Eric Ries has encapsulated this movement so that it's really about it's about eliminating waste, right? So if you actually have a lot of time and money to burn, maybe you don't need to do this lean startup stuff, but most people don't view that way, view their life that way. So to me, the most important thing is that if you're in customer discovery or you're in customer validation even, and you can formulate a test that actually tells you on the negative side not to pursue that product. If that test fails, I won't pursue that product. Then to me, that's actually pretty powerful. And I think that it doesn't mean a small test. It means that the data that you're going to get from it is sufficient enough to tell you whether to move forward or whether to pivot onto something else. Mm-hmm. And so, I had a customer, I had a client who had been working on his product. It was a recruiting product, and he'd been working on it for a year or 2 years before I engaged with him, and he had spent probably close to $100,000. And he had a few users of his product, right? So most startups don't fail because they don't get any users. Most startups fail because they get some amount of market signal, but they can't figure out, where that beacon really is coming from and how do I get there to actually blow up my company. And they spin in this valley of death until they run out of money or they just give up. And so that's kind of where this guy was. And he's just sort of spinning there, trying to figure out where his market signal is. And so we put together a program and we started I sent him out doing customer discovery, customer validation, doing interviews and learning about this. And my biggest hurdle with him was trying to get him to charge for his product. And he was so afraid to charge for his product. And again, I'm not saying everybody should do this out of the gate. It was just this one example. And sort of 8 months, probably 8 months into our engagement, after we had done a bunch of customer discovery and he built some features based on his interviews, and it came to the point I finally convinced him to charge for his product. And when he couldn't get people to pay, including lifetime customers that he would grandfather in at a lower price, and this is one group that was adamant. They loved the product, and they called him up and they said, "Listen, even at your lower rate, I know that this is something that you're going to want to charge for more, and I know that there's a whole path that you're going down here to monetize your business, and I just don't think it's right for us to use your product anymore because we're just not going to be that customer." And this was his most valued customer, and he just realized at that point that he didn't have it. He didn't have the product. He didn't have the market, and he killed his product. And so, yeah, he was 2 years in. Yeah, he's $100,000 in the hole. But it's better than have been another 2 years than another $100,000. Sure. And so sometimes the biggest wins, I've tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago, sometimes the biggest wins in lean startups is actually learning that you don't have it. You don't have a real product. You don't have a real market, and you need to pivot onto something else.
Yeah, sometimes people just be in denial and they just cannot.
Entrepreneurs are passionate, right? And that's why I love working with entrepreneurs. They're passionate, but they also need to have some sort of objective measures about whether they're actually, killing it or not, whether they actually have something or not.